Hello everyone. In this class, we will explain gestures in preventing accidental contact. Nomad is slightly different from traditional 3D software. Traditional 3D software usually displays fixed 3 views through multiple windows, but Nomad only has one window. So controlling the perspective well becomes the key to our carving. In order to make our operation smoother, we first need to set it up to avoid accidental touch. Click on the interface. There is a gesture where we need to reset the fingers and stylus. The camera movement is set to fingers. The engraving is set to stylus, and the axial transformation is also set to touch ratio. This is to distinguish carving and perspective operations more clearly, to avoid accidentally touching the model to activate carving when adjusting the perspective. When using a matte brush, we can reverse blur or sharpen the matte by using a standalone background and different areas on the model. Some students may not be accustomed to this operation. Unchecking here can disable clicking shortcuts, and after closing, the mask can only be operated through the buttons in the mask settings section. My suggestion is to adapt to the shortcut mode as much as possible, which can greatly improve our work efficiency. The double click sprayer below has been modified to have these functions specified without double clicking. In fact, using the left hand can be more convenient to achieve, but setting the sprayer can actually lead to misoperation. Finally, we will enable ignore size to prevent accidental touch when the palm is docked on the screen. If the size threshold is too small, it will affect the recognition of gesture touch, and if it is too large, it cannot achieve the effect of a house. It is recommended to set it to around 65. Next, we will explain the perspective, which is the basic operation of the camera. Everything we see in the scene on the screen is presented based on the camera. It can be easily understood as a person carrying a camera running around to give us a live broadcast. So that we need to command the person to circle left and right, or to zoom in a bit closer and back out a bit to shrink their previous fingers. Compared to touch control, we set the camera's movement mode to fingers. So manipulating the camera is done using gestures. One finger can rotate the viewing angle left, right, up, and down. 2 fingers can pan the viewing angle, and the opening and closing of the 2 fingers can bring the camera closer or farther away from the model, achieving a zoom effect. If the model is moved to the edge beyond our field of view, simply double-click with 1 finger in the blank space to pull the model back to the center of the field of view. When we zoom in for local carving, we can quickly focus the perspective on the corresponding part of the model by double-clicking with 1 finger. It should be noted that when manipulating the camera's perspective, the model does not undergo any changes in space. When multiple models exist, clicking with your fingers can activate different objects. Of course, using a pen can also activate objects which can only be edited or sculpted when activated. After the model is modified, clicking with 2 fingers can undo the operation. 3 finger clicks can be restored, and if long pressed, history can be quickly rolled back or restored. Occasionally, we may need to drag the iPad with 1 hand, and adjusting the left paintbrush is not very convenient. At this point, you can adjust the brush size by sliding it up and down with 3 fingers. If 3 fingers slide left and right, it will rotate the lighting angle of the scene. Similarly, during rotation, the model remains unchanged, and the perspective remains unchanged. The rotation involves all the light sources in the scene, and the basic operating techniques are all organized here. You can take screenshots and practice carefully. See you next class.